and welcome to my presentation about the most queer and baroque tiny leaders, brought to you by me. What is a tiny leader? It's like Commander, but small. There's a deck size of 50, including your commander, and every card in that deck, including your commander, has to be 3 mana value or less. So it's very cool. There's lots of restrictions, which lead to cool archetypes and cool decks. But there's lots of infights about the rule, which make very sad sometimes, but it's sort of like my home life. Anyways, this is also a fun community who love banding. Any creatures with banding and up to one without can attack in a band. Bands are blocked as a group. If any creature with banding you control are blocking or being blocked by a creature, you divide that creature's combat damage, not its controller, among any of the creatures it's being blocked by or is blocking. Bands with any quality creatures can attack in a band as long as at least one has bands with other quality. Bands are blocked as a one group if at least 2 quality creatures you control, one of which has bands with other quality, are blocking or being blocked by the same creature. You divide that creature's combat damage, not its controller, among any of the creatures it's being blocked by or is blocking together to make fun decks. So what is the queer and baroque scale? Queer is in relation to how gay the card art looks, in a positive manner. Baroque isn't directly related to the 17th century art style and movement, but is a term used as a shorthand for anything Renaissance-like or fantasy art in this scaling. How else the card art queer? Man tits. Ken and the Lesbians. Ashiok. These are all great examples of how card art can look gay. How is card art baroque? Well, it's very simple. There's a strong feeling of wealth and expression. It is full of life and energy. And there is warmth and welcoming vibes. What does lack of queer and baroque mean? Lack of these qualities isn't exactly an indicator of a bad tiny leader. However, it does make it kind of lame. But usually, lack of queer is reserved to painfully cis-hetero alloromantic vibes, like those Eldraine twin losers who are racist. I do not like them. And a lack of baroque usually leans more towards technological, artifacty, less romantic vibes, like some of the new cards from the Neon Kamigawa set. So, who is the most queer and baroque out of all tiny leaders? I'm glad you asked. You asked that, right? Number 3, Tybalt the Fiend-Blooded. If you look at him close enough, I think it's self-explanatory. Number 2, Grist the Hungry Tide. Now, I know this may seem like I botted a bunch of votes to put Grist at number 2, but that is incorrect. I would not do that. I'm just as surprised as you are. Number 1, you have Florian Voldaren Scion. He is the one that led me to creating this list and hypothetical of who is the most queer and baroque tiny leader. So, of course, in the votes, he got number 1. And you may be wondering, votes? Well, that's how it was decided. And there was a 5-way tie decided by a random number generator for 3rd place. Tybalt won that random number generator, which made me really sad, because the other contestants for 3rd place were Tomik, Ayula, Yusri, and On Halo, who were the other bronze medal winners. Other fun data points. The average queerness of all tiny leaders is around 1.89838337, with a standard deviation of 5.526163959. You may be asking, what is this math doing here? And do I care? Well, it is important to me, and that's why you should care. The standard deviation is important because it shows how much majority of the tiny leaders fall. So, overall, in a range from around, let's say, -4 to +8 is where majority of the tiny letters fall. And the average baroqueness is quite similar, with a standard deviation of 4.024434,354, but an average baroqueness of 3.595842,956. As you can see, the standard deviation is also quite large, meaning majority of the baroqueness of Magic the Gathering tiny letters is between 0 and about 8. However, the most queer coloring pairings was Gruul, with an average of 7 and a standard deviation of 2.59058123. This is very good because this means that majority of the cards fall between around 4.5 to 9.5 is a matter of majority of the point fallings. Average Gruul baroqueness was also really high at 6.5833333333, with a standard deviation of 2.3944379999. The standard deviation here is also good because it is quite significantly low compared to the other sets, as well as the other average baroqueness. So, this means that on average, Gruul is the most queer and baroque, which is interesting because none of the Gruul cards won the top 3 spots. Interesting. Also interesting, as you can see here, this is the average graphing of all the characters. As you can see, majority of cards are either queer or baroque, and it is very unlikely for them to lack either of these qualities. As you can see, majority of these cards are either queer or baroque, with non-queer, non-baroque cards being a small minority for the average. This is how the Gruul graph looks. As you can see, everything is in the top right quadrant. And most interestingly, Orzhov had an interesting split between two significant groups of non-queer and queer cards, with both sides being baroque, with this one little outlier right here, which you can't see because I am, hold on, oh god, you can see I am now flying, whee, but you can see here that there's an outlier, there is an outlier right here, that is interesting, whee, oh god, that is the end of the slideshow, I'm gonna die, no.